o'clock. I call this meeting to order. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, first up is approval of the agenda.
I'll move for the approval of the agenda for March 25, 2025.
Second.
It's been moved in second. Any discussion on the agenda? Hearing none. All those in favor say yes.
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 Opposed say no. We have an agenda. Next is special presentation, community garden. Amber, you're up.
Hello, I have papers to pass out if you would like them. Oh, you have them? Perfect.
We have
Okay. My name is Amber Marks. I'm president of Whitehall. Just walk you through my community garden proposal and hopefully answer any questions that you have.
Hold the mic closer.
Is that better?
Better.
Okay, great. Just starting with a little bit about my background. Leading a community garden requires a diverse skill set, and I feel that my background is uniquely positioned for success. My professional background is in marketing and design. I'm a graphic designer, so that provides a foundation that will be instrumental in creating both a visually appealing and functional garden space. I will utilize my skills to develop clear signage and engaging marketing materials, as well as a well-designed garden layout that maximizes accessibility and aesthetic appeal. Complementing this, I've spent time working on an organic farm, which has instilled a respectful, sustainable practices and both a practical understanding of a healthy and vibrant garden. I will bring not just a passion for gardening, but also a proven ability to organize, communicate, and execute projects effectively. My goals for this project are to create a shared space that encourages interaction and builds relationship among community members, to provide a local resource that will cultivate nourishing food for the people of Whitehall, and to transform underutilized spaces into biodiverse pockets that will improve local ecology and community well-being. Some community engagement strategies I have listed. Recognizing that past community garden initiatives faced engagement challenges, I propose a proactive and multifaceted approach to ensure sustained participation. My strategies include establishing the the location of the garden in a highly accessible and walkable location, adding clear and engaging signage, handing out flyers to surrounding houses and neighborhoods informing them of the new community garden, hosting gardening workshops potentially for beginners, and hosting events such as planting events, harvest celebrations, and potlucks to bring the community together, as well as considering community partnerships such as with schools or senior centers or any other suggestions. As far as a budget for this project, my proposal presents a diverse range of garden concepts, sizes, and locations that can accommodate various budgetary considerations. I recommend prioritizing the selection of a specific location and garden concept before finalizing a detailed budget. How it will work. I propose that we adopt a hybrid approach for this community garden, balancing both individual plot ownership and shared communal responsibilities. This approach will foster both personal investment in the garden as well as a sense of collective ownership in the community. A bit more about that. As far as plot allocation goes, plots will be assigned through an application process, prioritizing residents within walking distance of the garden and those with demonstrated commitment. A lottery system may be used if demand exceeds available plots. Plot sizes will be standardized to ensure fairness and efficient use of space, and a waiting list will be maintained for future plot availability should that be necessary. As far as membership and participation, all plot holders will be considered garden members and expected to contribute to the garden's upkeep, and a small annual membership fee may be implemented if needed to cover operational costs such as seeds or tools. There will be communal maintenance. Shared responsibility will include maintaining pathways, compost bins, or any common areas. A rotating schedule or sign-up system can be used to ensure equitable distribution of these tasks. Workshops and demonstrations will be offered to educate members on gardening techniques and communal maintenance if necessary. As far as rules and guidelines, clear guidelines will be established regarding acceptable planting practices, water usage and conservation, composting and waste management, harvesting, and surplus of produce as well. and garden rules will be posted clearly. In terms of water management, where possible, existing spigots will be used, and if not available, rain barrels may be installed, and watering schedules will be created to conserve water. And harvesting and sharing, plot holders are responsible for harvesting their own produce, and surplus produce may be shared among members or donated to local food banks. And then in terms of sustainability, this garden will model sustainable urban agriculture, prioritizing ecological health through the following principles. The use of organic practices to cultivate a healthy ecosystem by adhering to organic gardening methods. This includes emphasizing natural solutions like composting, crop rotation, and beneficial insect attraction. Resource conservation will be important, prioritizing the efficient use of resources, specifically focusing on water and soil. Water efficient irrigation, rainwater harvesting, and mulching are all options of things that can be employed to conserve water. Soil health will be maintained through composting and regenerative practices. In biodiversity enhancement, this garden will promote an ecosystem that is diverse, encouraging the planting of a variety of crops, flowers, and native plants. This will support local pollinators, beneficial insects, and contribute to the overall ecological resilience of our area. I've outlined a few location suggestions as well, and I am open to any and all suggestions. There's 3 overall concepts within the location suggestions, the first being partnering with a local school. The second is a traditional community garden that's within walking distance of downtown or residential areas, or an alley or alcove garden with planter boxes as opposed to planting in the ground. So the first location I'm suggesting is the open lot near City Hall. It's within walking distance of a lot of homes, and it's right next to a tennis court, which presents an opportunity to revitalize the tennis court and increase community engagement through a combined garden and recreation space. The second location suggestion is the open lot near downtown Hanson Hill and the Lions Park. It's within easy walking distance of both downtown and a lot of homes. It has proximity to the social district in Hanson Hill, which creates a natural flow of people, increasing awareness of the garden. And Lions Park offers potential for integrating the garden with existing recreational activities, such as picnics or kayaking, creating a multi-use community space, and it attracts people to downtown, potentially boosting local business. The third location suggestion is an open lot near the gazebo in Goodrich Park, near the new apartment building. People living in the new apartments will have access to gardening space that they would not otherwise have. It adds a layer of activity to an already established community space, such as Goodrich Park. There's the existing park infrastructure that can be leveraged, and it's within easy walking distance of downtown, again, with the potential to boost local business. The fourth location suggestion is an alcove garden between the Frontier and Miller and Shepherd offices. This transforms an unused space into a vibrant community asset, contributes to the beautification of downtown, and attracts people to downtown, again, potentially boosting local business. The fifth suggestion is an open lot near the law office of Roger Sweeting. It transforms an unused space into a vibrant community asset, and again, attracts people downtown. The sixth location suggestion is the lot near 123 West Colby Street and the new apartment building. Again, people in the new apartments will have access to a gardening space that they would not otherwise have. It attracts people to downtown, and it further enhances the aesthetic appeal and botanical diversity of an already attractive lot. And the last location suggestion is in partnership with the schools, either this open lot near the VAC or any other spot near local schools. It provides hands-on learning about science, botany, and ecology, as well as nutrition. Students build a sense of ownership and pride in their community, and it promotes biodiversity. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Council?
I'm wondering, are you figuring you're gonna have to fence this in because of deer and other things?
Yes, I would recommend some type of a fence.
Okay.
Looking at several of these, they're all on private property. You'd have to do some discussions with property owners. I can see on a lot of them, the city owns one of them, I think.
Okay.
All of those. I had a couple other options, or a couple other places, maybe a spot at Funnel Field. Shaw Apartments, where the seniors are at, might be another one for you to look at. One of the other ideas that I had was get a partnership with either Barry's and or Weese's Greenhouse. They might be able to help you, and gives them some free advertising and they raise the plants, so
Yeah, that's an excellent suggestion.
that's all I have.
Okay. Anyone else? Yes.
Oh, sounds like a really cool idea. I remember years and years ago, somebody new to the area talking about CSA, community supported agriculture, and the conversation just didn't get off the ground. It just was, he was a little ahead of the game. I love all of the ideas. I think it might be, I'd be certainly, I don't know if you're asking us for money or for permission or just ideas or guidance or somebody from the staff to help you. Not Scott. But I think I'd be interested in kind of a small scale pilot project just to see how it goes, just to kind of, check out the fencing and how people participate. But I think it'd be really cool to have something by the downtown, because I'm always looking at how can we add things to the downtown to make it more of a destination.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. I think a small approach would be a good way to test the waters and see if people are interested, and then potentially expanding to a location like Funnel Field, where there's a lot more space to be able to expand should that be necessary.
Well, and then just one more, we do have some farmers, like maybe Stu Scholl.
Mm-hmm.
Might be nice to get a team,
Yeah,
some folks who are experienced doing it to kind of work with you. But it's a cool idea, and I can tell that you've put a lot of work into it.
thank you. I appreciate that.
I love the concept. I've seen it be successful in other communities where I've lived, so it's exciting. How do you see the management of it going? Because it sounds like a lot to keep track of as far as who has the plot, what, all of that stuff. How does that look for you?
Yeah, that's a good question and something I can definitely do a bit more research on and get back to you. I envisioned it being like an online webpage where you can go and apply and see if there's plots available and things like that. But I can again do some more research and get back to you on that.
And are you thinking that you will be doing that?
I'd be happy to.
Assuming, okay.
I can do that, yeah.
The other one, we do have the Dirt Daubers
That's
gardening
true.
group around too, they might be able to help,
Great
or
idea.
give her some
It sounds
ideas.
like a
Yeah.
lot for one person, that's why.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be
You're
nice
gonna
to
need a
have
team.
a team or a collaboration of some sort.
Anyone else?
I think, oh, go ahead.
My only input is that I think it would be next door here at the tennis court. The tennis court, I believe, is beyond repair, beyond using.
I see.
Just rip it up and use that, would be my suggestion.
Yeah, I'm open to that as well.
Or do planter boxes or something like that and put them on top of the old pavement.
That's possible.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say that, Montague has a pretty big, Montague Schools
Mhm.
has a pretty big deal with their gardening, with their FFA, and
Yeah.
they have and I think that'd be really nice to partner with the school and do something by them too, and have, I don't know if they need to start some kind of a club or something like that. And I'm not real sure. I know that I know some of the people that are in the FFA in Montague, and I don't know if the FFA could be involved or whatever. But I think it's a real good idea to partner with the school and do something. And I think you ought to do more than one.
Yeah, I agree. And getting young people involved in the community is a goal of this with mine.
All right, well, I love the idea of a community garden. I'd certainly like to be involved in it, and it's a wonderful presentation you've done. I don't know what the next step is here.
In terms of budget, do you think that's something that the city would be able to assist with?
Well, we have budget talks coming up, and it's, this is the council that decides where the dollars go, so.
Okay. Yeah.
Just
I
some kind of
appreciate
an idea of how much would be required, or, I know it's hard to say at this point because you don't know where you'd go or how big it would be, or.
Yeah, I think it varies greatly between the options that I presented. Obviously, supplies with planter boxes is going to be a little bit more expensive than just planting directly in the ground. Both options will probably have a fence to protect from deer. So it does vary greatly, but if it narrows down to a few more solutions, I'd be happy to propose a budget for each of those.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
All right, next up is the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as submitted.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
I have a question pertaining to the accounts payable, and that is the water meter transceivers.
Can you give us a page?
Page. Okay, staple rip the page off. Let's see here. I think it's on page 2 of 6. And I was just curious, the transceivers are going on every house, it looks like. And I'm wondering if all the city houses have those already?
Basically, they go in the meter pit so that we don't actually go and read the meters. It's actually automatically downloaded. So that's basically what those are.
Right. Does all the houses in the city have those already?
I won't say all of them, pretty much all of them. There are some that just don't work with that transceiver, so we still read a very few number of meters.
Okay.
Anything else?
I just have a question with respect to the, thank you from the Great Lakes Cities Initiative. Is this in here? So last time we got a note on our desk and then council didn't have discussion at all about it. And then now we're members and the mayor went to Washington DC. I just want to make sure that this is not, now there's a thank you, which is nice, and an invitation to another meeting. I just want to make sure that silence on it isn't taken as approval to be represented by the mayor at the place. We didn't have a single discussion about the situation. I just want to make sure that if that's the intent with this, to send the mayor to another meeting, we need to have a discussion. I'm just asking, is your intent to go?
I am not available for that meeting.
Well, that's not my question, but thank you for
I
that.
have no intention of going to that meeting.
Well, that's why I'm asking the question.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for clarifying.
Is that, how many a year do they have of those, do you know?
They have one annual meeting a year that I'm aware of.
The membership in the Great Lakes and St. Lawrence, and I'll stop there because it's a lengthier title, is basically, it's a city membership, much like Mission Municipal League.
Right.
And I think that there was an opportunity, kind of last minute, the membership is free this year. They offered that as an enticement for the city to join in the future and actually give us time to see if it's of value to the city. And it was kind of a last minute thing where they were looking for a representative from the city. And that was, all of that cost was covered by the Great Lakes. So there's been no cost to the city as yet. And staff and the mayor or any council members can continue to explore the value of that membership over the next year.
There were, if I remember right, there was only 2 other mayors there, or cities represented. Why was
Those were
that
the
so
Michigan
low?
mayors.
Right.
There were mayors from Michigan, Indiana, Illinois, Ohio, and the various Canadian provinces.
Okay.
There were over 40 mayors.
It's got quite a big membership. I mean, it's got
Yes, they have a lot.
Can I add a comment? please?
Yes?
I remember when that was established a number of years ago, and it is a good organization because it brings, because of the breadth of bringing together the different size cities for that, but also, we're all in the Great Lakes, and to have that focus, I think, is important. So I've always known it to be a very good organization.
And they recently established a organization to cover the Mississippi River watershed, and their focus is on the pollution, specifically plastic pollution that comes down the river. So that's their focus. All right, is there any other discussion on the consent agenda? All those in favor say yes.
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 Opposed say no. Consent agenda is approved. Next is messages. City manager, do you have any messages for us?
I do not this evening, Your Honor.
Okay. Jeff, you're next.
Nothing tonight, Your Honor.
Okay. Scott?
I have a question for Scott. Shipping containers. We've established that they're not allowed for residential. Are they allowed for businesses?
They're not prohibited in businesses. I know the planning commission approved a couple already. We do allow them for short-term construction, because I think there's a site down on Lake Street that's had one there. Might be removed by now. But that's kind of a way of saying, since they're not prohibited, they would be allowed in commercial areas, subject to site plan approval by the planning commission.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I wanted to know.
Steve?
Nothing tonight.
Okay. Tom?
Yeah, I just, two things, I guess. One is that we have the budgeting process coming up. In last year, there wasn't very much time between looking at the first budget and being able to take it in and make comments or suggestions or whatever. So I'm hoping that this year we'll have at least another 2-week period for dealing with the budget, so we have a little more time to think on it. The other thing that I mentioned is that CJ Van Meeren is here today, and we spoke earlier, I guess it was last week for a while, and he asked a question to me. He says, do you notice a disconnect between the city and the school? And gosh, I hadn't thought about it, and I said, now that you mention it, I think I do. You know, I don't see much going on between the school and the city, and I invited him if he wanted to come here and talk sometime about that, and I think it would be good to hear something more from the school than we typically have.
Nice. As I've mentioned in the past, I sit on the Accommodations Tax Advisory Committee for the county, and the Visit Muskegon group is working on their strategic plan for travel and tourism for the area. So that's kind of an interesting process to get to be a part of. So looking forward to continuing. They had a consultant come in, talk with us today to get ideas. They're doing surveys and compiling all that information, and they'll develop their strategic plan. So it's good to get to be a part of that process, and so one of the things that I have asked for is some help on communicating the importance of tourism in our area. We have talked many times that we don't want to be a Grand Haven or a Traverse City, but we want to thrive as a community, and tourism is part of that. So I've asked for some help on how to maybe have some sessions where Visit Muskegon comes and talks to us and talks about the importance of tourism and how we as residents of the community can support that without feeling overrun by tourism. So hopefully that will be helpful in the future.
On your position in that board, has the subject of short-term rentals, it's a subject that I think as a council we need to talk about.
So yes, the subject has come up, not in respect of whether they're good or bad, but how do we as a community, as a county, keep track of them, make sure that they know where they are, primarily because we're looking at the accommodation taxes, and for a very long time a lot of them either weren't aware or just simply weren't paying them. So we want to make sure that everybody's in the hospitality field is on a little playing field as far as taxes go. So not from the perspective of whether or not they're good or bad for the communities, but only from looking at it from a collection perspective. So.
I'm concerned about the proliferation of those in our community. I think
That's a good point.
we do have an inspection program that I believe all rentals are supposed to be registered in that program. I doubt very much whether they all are, but
Yeah, that's a good point. It's hard to, they've had a very difficult time finding them all.
right.
And so that's part of the issue. It's hard to know how to regulate them, and you don't know where they are. So it's part of the start of finding them and getting them registered and all of that stuff. So
How about the Lewis House?
it's,
They do that?
we've got our license,
Well,
everything, we're all good.
It's a subject that I would like to see on a future work session.
It's a good idea.
Tanya?
I would like to add to that and actually make it a housing discussion, because
Yes.
we, looking at our rental, our single family, what are we planning for our seniors, and, what about young people here? So I'd like to have a broader conversation. Oh,
One affects the other.
yeah, and Scott, is the housing coordinator ready to come and meet us from the county?
She is not. She is still learning her task and making all her connections at the state level. Her and I have talked about coming and making a presentation to the city, and we've also talked about some potential projects in the city.
Okay.
So she is very well aware of who we are.
Well, it'd be good to know when she can come.
Gee, she just got there.
When she's available.
We're not getting any younger here.
No.
A couple quick ones, in relation to the school, and I think Steve and Jeff know this. For a long time, we had a high school representative sitting up here
We had two of them.
with us, yes. And now we're fortunate to get Montague High School students over here. But it'd be great to have that again. And then I got a couple quick ones. The energy audit, the information that's in here, very helpful from Melissa. Looks like she's done a good job, and Ashley. And I'm wondering if we could put that on a work session, because I'd like to know how would we prioritize some of these items? How would we move forward? Also, I'd like to make sure that we have a baseline, and that if whatever we implement, we could understand the cost and the environmental benefits going forward, just so we know, so we can measure. The Conservation District, I noticed some City of Whitehall people, their annual meeting was last night, and if folks are not aware of the Conservation District, they're just amazing. They do a lot of excellent work. I would check them out, and I'm very glad to have them here. And I think my last one is, I mentioned this before, but I am working with my scientist friend, Dr. Rick Radisky, who is known as the PFAS professor. PFAS is a group of chemicals that we're finding all over the place. And we are, in my work role, we are hosting a PFAS task force kickoff this Thursday at 6 o'clock at the Annis Water Resources Institute. It's open to everybody. It'd be nice to have somebody from the City of Whitehall, Scott, because we do have one site. Muskegon County has the most on the lake shore, which makes sense. We're a manufacturing community, so, and it's likely there are going to be more. And just the idea is kind of like the White Lake and Muskegon Lake Public Advisory Councils, just to take a look at the sites as a citizen body and make sure that we understand all of the information. The state doesn't really update the sites information as much as they could, and then make sure that people's health is protected, and then maybe there's some remedial activities that we need to be advocating for. So that's open to everybody, 6 o'clock this Thursday. Just let me know though, because we have refreshments. So.
Make a comment?
Yes.
I just thought of something while
Okay.
I just wanted to thank whoever is responsible for this Playhouse rundown of expenses, and I don't know if it's Brenda or Beth or whoever, but it's good to actually see the numbers and look them over and know what's going on, especially when we're being asked to help fund it, so appreciate it, whoever did it.
Alyssa and Beth and Brooke put those together.
Okay. Great.
All right, next up, we have public comment. Anyone wishing to make a public comment, please step up to the microphone and try to limit your comments to 3 minutes. And, hey,
Good evening. My name is CJ Van Waren, the new superintendent here in Whitehall District Schools. So I just wanted to stop by tonight and introduce myself so that you guys can put a face to the name, and then also kind of reiterate what Tom had mentioned too. I'm hoping moving forward that we can work together as a city, the local townships and such, to try and build the best academic experience for all of our students. So I know that some of those things that have happened in the past and being able to bring those back, but most importantly, I want you guys to know that you can come to me with anything, any thoughts, any suggestions, so that we can take your feedback and kind of grow from there. And that's kind of what we've been doing in this transition leadership transition, and just really trying to find what is needed and how we can best move forward from there. So I appreciate you guys' leadership and your role here, and look forward to working with you all in the future. So thank you.
thank you. Anyone else? All right, we'll move on to old business, which I believe we have none. New business, resolution 2509, senior millage.
I will make a motion to approve resolution 25-09 with the division as stated, and to spend a total of $17,245 as noted above.
I'll support that.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion. Yes.
Well, I do think it's important to note that, you know, from when I gave the report, that the committee put a lot of time into this, and a lot of meetings, and way too many emails from me, mainly because I wanted them to come to consensus. We had a fantastic committee, and I wanted them to come to consensus on the recommendations that we put forward, you know, recognizing that $17,245 is not a lot of money, but the committee did a bang-up job with the survey and had a stack of responses, and just trying to, as best we can, use that money to tackle some of the priorities. And just a reminder that it kind of came out, a lot of people don't know what we have, so that's why we put a little money for the city to help with outreach. And then it was kind of in two categories, like tackling this social isolation piece, you know, so that's why we're excited to have 2 community dinners at the senior center, and they've got trips and things. And then we also wanted to bring some of the services that are more active in the southern part of the county, like Agewell, with their transportation and Meals on Wheels, starting to get them, you know, active up here as well. So it wasn't easy, and I bugged them over and over again, and I can see Ruth Skinner, who tallied the results, nodding her head, yes. So it wasn't easy, and these are the recommendations that we made. I did get an email from the city manager letting us know that that the allocation we were making for the White Lake Community at the Viking Athletic Center apparently was not acceptable. So I don't know, and you were copied on that, Mayor Salter, if you wanted to address that.
Well, apparently we have a disagreement as to how much they want as opposed to how much we're prepared to give. And that's what I want to hear from this council, where it seems as though we're $1,000 apart. I would certainly like to see more clarification as to what we're getting for our dollar spent. I think we need to let the people know this is what they're paying and this is what they can expect to get.
And the committee did have some questions about
Yes.
that and wanted to clear up, you know, so that's why we went with the 9 rather than the 1,000, because we wanted to, you know, we had to but it divided up as best we could, with some questions. And two, you know, Fruitland Township pays 10,000, they've got nearly double the population, so we were trying to figure out how the number attaches to the walkers and the numbers and the information. And so it's not that we don't support our walkers go there, but we don't have a lot of money, and we're trying to, I think I did forward the email about the White Lake Community Ed, basically saying it's like $10,000 or nothing to the committee, and there was a conversation, and they would like to stay with the 9,000, but obviously it's council's decision.
I'd like to hear from other council members.
Tanya hit the nail on the head. I mean, you got twice as many out in Fruitland, and they're paying $1,000 more. I mean, there's no really quantification there that I can see. It's just like, okay, here's what it is. I'm happy with the 9. Now, you know, we've got, you guys spent an inordinate amount of time and effort making these decisions, and as far as I'm concerned, I'm following your lead because you put the time in. So I'm good with what's written down here. So.
I was on the committee. I'm also good with, you know, with where it's at. You know, we continually ask for the school for certain figures and never really got what we were asking for. I mean, we wanted to know how many people that were seniors were walking, and all we ever got was how many seniors that are members. So, I mean, I'm a member. I haven't walked there in 5 years. You know, just because I'm a member doesn't mean anything.
I'm a member, I walk there most every day.
Yeah, and I know a lot of other people that are the same way. But all I'm saying is we asked for numbers of walkers.
You want to see usage?
And yeah, and we didn't get what we asked for. All we got was how many people that are seniors were registered.
We did get some numbers, but I still think at least it was confusing to me. Scott, we did get some numbers on usage, but it still, we still had some questions, I think, about how, it just, I think the number felt a little arbitrary. I don't know, maybe I'm putting words in the committee's mouth, but I.
And this is an annual thing, so I mean, next year, they come to us with more information and make a better decision, or a more informed decision at least, so, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, right now I hear 3. Do we need to
Call for the question.
call for a vote?
Call for a vote.
Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call please.
Sickingo,
Yes.
Zavala,
Yes.
Hillebrand,
Yes.
Zemer,
Yes.
Holmstrom,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
and Salter.
Yes. By that vote, I think, do we understand what that means? That our seniors will not be covered to what?
Except the 9,000, or?
To me, it's either you accept the 9,000 or we try to figure out a different way to pay for it.
I want everyone to be aware what the vote means. I guess what we're doing is we're throwing it back to the school and saying, this is it. It's this or nothing. So at that point, then we need to decide what we're gonna do with that money. Then we're not gonna
We
be
need to
giving-
hear from the school about whether they're gonna accept 9,000 or not.
Yep. All right. Next up is Resolution 2510, consult search.
Make a motion to approve resolution 2510, search for a consultant.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion?
I do appreciate all of them. I thought each one offered some really good strengths. I like the one, I think the first one that you recommended, Scott, because it had quite a, significant talent. given that it was nationwide. I like the MML because they're Michigan-based. They know their state of Michigan. They're a solid organization. I appreciate what you did, Mr. Zemer, with, checking into the one that was local. And I do think, looking at all of them, they probably have the best mix for us, given that they have a little more work with city council and stakeholders, and maybe a little bit more tailored to our needs. So I appreciate seeing the consulting proposals.
Is there any other discussion?
Oh, just anecdotally, the Ottawa County just hired Double Hall to help them find a county administrator.
Well, I gotta
Very
say,
good company.
I have an issue with the cost. We're looking, they presented two proposals. One was a standard, and the other's a strong start. And basically, what I see the difference is the strong start is training the individual. Well, I don't want to hire somebody that we got to train to do the job. I want somebody that's has experience, knows how to do the job, and can do the job, not someone that has to be trained. So, I'm certainly not for the strong start, the $21,495 versus $15,495. Looks like there's a $4,000 to train an individual that should be hired, that's already trained and capable.
The way that I saw that is it's kind of insurance that that this new person coming in, I don't know if it's so much training as it is how to manipulate, how to work into all the different people involved and make sure that it's a smooth transition. The place out of Texas, I believe, also offered something similar to that, if I'm not mistaken. And when I talked with the other cities, with Pentwater and Ludington, the fact that they had that follow-up work in conversations, not just with the manager that they hired, but also with, was open to talking with some of the other people in the city. That was why their transitions were so successful. There was they put a lot of stock into that, working with the person after the placement. And it's not training them, I don't think, on
Coaching,
maybe
they call it executive coaching.
coaching, yeah. But I think that's a good thing. They get some of that with the lesser amount, the 15,000.
Right.
There's more of it with the 21,000. I could go either way on which program we do.
Is there, do they have a middle ground, Scott? Like, this is 12 months of executive coaching versus 3 months for the standard. Because, and then, can you explain a little bit more, like the 24-month strong start guarantee?
Yeah, basically, going off mostly my memory, is that if there's a separation between the next manager and the city council within 24 months, they will provide a second search, I think at no cost. The 6 month is, they would provide it for half the cost.
Okay. That, given that we haven't had a new city manager in a long time.
Well, yeah, agreed. And the other piece for me, I didn't take it as a training per se, but not to say it isn't, but it doesn't. It's not training like how do you do your job, because you're right. Somebody should come in and know how to do that. But the support as far as relationships among the community and the council and how to transition into, we've talked about potentially adding performance reviews. There's a lot of support there that is valuable after the hiring, just to help transition with relationships. So I felt like I feel like it's a strong start, because So I am in favor of the additional funding to support that piece. And the 2-year timing for the guarantee is kind of unheard of. I think it's a year usually is a good one, but to have 2 years is, I think it's a value.
I think on paper, it looks almost like they're close enough, you know, why would we spend that more money? But ideally, we're not gonna be changing city managers too much, you know what I mean?
You hope.
We haven't, you know
We
what I mean?
haven't, but you hope.
We haven't, you know, and hopefully we won't, but I think this would help, maybe helping us, you know, maintain some level of stability.
I still like to understand why we're changing city managers.
Well, that's not the motion on the table.
I know it's not the motion, but it needs to be discussed.
I'd like to
I
get
think-
back to the
I
motion.
think we owe it to this community. Why we're doing this.
I didn't take anything that I read in there that they were, the difference in cost had anything to do with training the person. We're not gonna select a candidate that isn't already trained to do the job. So, I mean, all they're doing is backing up, you know, their selection process with a guarantee, basically. So, I think it's money well spent.
They are offering 12 months of executive coaching in addition to the guarantee. Two separate things.
I know what, I know what it's like, just in the corporate world, to start a new job and starting to learn the people that you're working with and the different aspects that you may not have been aware of or something. And I have to believe it's worse with the city manager, where you've got, you're dealing with the different departments and the people in the different departments and the community who want to pull you this way and that way. And to me, if you can remember back how to when you started, Scott, that probably was a pretty scary deal, wasn't it?
I wouldn't say scary, but certainly a lot of
Nervous.
new challenges
Yeah.
and a lot of learning and, yeah.
I mean, I just, you know, there were times when I could have used some outside help, you know, and
Well, and
I think there's value in that.
There is, and not to put anything, you know, negative on that, I think the executive coaching is a good idea. Particularly in West Michigan and especially in Muskegon County, the city managers and the county administrator are a very strong group and very supportive of each other. They have been for 20-plus years. So there is that group to lean on. MML used to have, well, the Michigan Managers Association used to have, called them range riders. Some of the more experienced retired managers, if you're having a problem and just needed a cup of coffee and chat things out, they were always available. So there's still that network out there to make it less scary.
Right. That's good.
The thing I look at with that 2-year guarantee, I mean, let's face it, we're not the biggest fish in the sea as far as stepping stones, et cetera, and that's one of my concerns. You get somebody in here and all of a sudden somebody bigger fish with more money decides to gobble them up within a 2-year process. That, as far as I'm concerned, is a pretty good net, a safety net, I would call it, I guess.
I like the guarantee. I'll say that. To me, you're hiring somebody, and over long term, to have $4,000 extra seems like a small amount to pay to make sure we get the right one, although hopefully we can learn enough about each one that once we get narrowed down to 3 or however many we get it down to, that we can pick what appears to be the right one. But I still like this guarantee because of like Councilman Holmes said, you know, there are a lot of places around probably that are going to be more lucrative than Whitehall, very possibly. And I don't know, you know. But I like the guarantee part, so.
All right. There's not any further discussion. Roll call, please.
Brown,
Yes.
Hillebrand,
Yes.
Kabala,
Yes.
Sickinga,
Yes.
Holmstrom,
Yes.
Zemer,
Yes.
Salter.
I'm going to vote yes, not because I believe it's the right decision, but because I believe it's the way that the council should all be unanimous. So. Next up is public comment. Anyone want to make a public comment?
Hi, I'm Christina. I came up with a genius idea while I was sitting back there. So it appears that Whitehall wants to be petty over $1,000. Perfectly fine. So that $9,000, why don't you have it go towards Amber's amazing plan and have it split up at like 3 different locations for like the senior citizens, because there's so much health benefits of like gardening and doing all that other stuff. And then like grandparents can bring their grandchildren, and then once you get that initial setup all taken care of, like I'm sure like the Whitehall Library has an amazing like C program too. I think that it's a genius idea. I'm just saying.
Thank you for your comments. Do we have any students that need signatures? Please step up and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Reed Thoman. I just need 2 signatures from our government class.
All right, we'll sign your papers after the meeting's concluded.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Public comment?
Well, you touched on it earlier, but I was wondering, you brought up the tourism and Lewis House, obviously, and the Maple Motel. They're all, or I think it's even still called that, they're licensed, right? And you talked about, oh, by the way, I'm Dee Jessic, sorry. Talked about, do we have short-term rentals? Like Airbnb, is that what you were talking about? Airbnbs and VRBOs and those kinds of things for short-term? So is there a ruling, someplace you can look up to say, oh, I want to buy that house over there and renovate it and make it an Airbnb? Like some communities have, we can only have this many. Other communities have nothing. Do we have anything that says we can have 100 or we can have 1,000 VRBOs or Airbnbs? Do we have anything like that?
We do not have a limit that I'm aware of. We have a registry that anyone that is in the rental business is required to be on. And my concern is that the balance is tipping to where we're having too many rentals, that it's hurting the regular housing stock.
That's what
So I would like to see that limited.
I would like to see it limited as well. And I didn't know if we had any kind of a limit,
That's for this council to work on.
Thank you. I was just wondering, I didn't know if there was a place, I'm not buying a house to rent. I was just asking if there is such a limit that I could go in and say, oh, look, I can buy a house over there. I'm not, but I'm just a question.
Thank you for your comments.
Good evening, Kathy West. I live in Whitehall. I want to make a comment about not allowing the $1,000 for the senior center, for access to the senior center. I use both, for the VAC. I use the senior center and I use the VAC. And just because some people don't use it in 5 years doesn't mean that there won't be people coming here who will use it. We are growing this community. We talk about having coming people here. I don't know what the politics are around. They charge $10,000. I mean, I don't get to go places and buy stuff and say, I don't want to pay what you're asking for the price. And I just encourage you all to find $1,000, because I have a lot of friends who won't go to the VAC and walk with me because they have to pay. They live in places where it's not included. They don't have the tab that we have.
What is the cost per day if you're not a?
I don't know, because I live here. I just go in and wind my thing and go in and use it when I want. There are people there all the time playing pickleball and working in
I've
the
seen-
gym and walking and, I run into a lot of people there. So $1,000 for how many people who do use it? I don't know. That's just I hope you will pursue that. Thank you.
Going off of her previous comment, I'm obviously not a senior citizen, but the cost to using the back has prohibited me and my family from being able to use it. So I would be also in favor of giving money to be able to do so. Thank you.
Can I say something again?
Yes?
Thank you. All right, it's me again, Christina. I just want to say we can't use the Vac Center because it's not affordable. So I understand the whole senior citizen thing, but I'm just talking about as a regular community member, it's not affordable. The garden center, I still think is a genius idea.
And I would love if the city could fund the use of the VAC Center for all our residents. It's something I would certainly like the council to look at when we're considering our budget this year and speak with the school system. I think it's a good thing for the school and it's a good thing for the community. So with that, if there's no further discussions, thank you all for coming. We'd like to hear what you have to say. We're adjourned.